Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction show time after Liverpool have somehow done it again. I mean, I don't even know how we have managed to do this so many times already this season. But once again, when all seemed lost, when it seemed like everything was going against us, when finally it seemed like Manchester City were going to seize total control of the title race and all hope was going to slip away and melt into a big nothing of sludge, suddenly Liverpool pull it out the fire yet again in sometimes bizarre circumstances, sometimes undeserved circumstances, but always the kind of circumstances that has you screaming to the heavens and really believing that something is just going our way. And listen, at this stage now, it is hard to tell whether or not we are going to win the league. You know, earlier on the season, you would look at moments like this and think fate just seems to be on our side. Now, mathematically, it is still not in our hands at all. Manchester City still have close to one hand on the trophy. They've got about 3 fingers gripped around one of those trophy handles, but it ain't over yet. The fat lady still is not singing and will not be singing for another week after Divock Origi sort of comes up with the goods. You know, I'm sure there will be people trying to say that's a Jamal Lascelles' own goal. I think Origi and most Liverpool fans will be desperate to give that moment to him because it would be yet another insane Divock Origi moment. You know, he's been a revelation this season. Considering how much I slated him in pre-season, I basically spent all of pre-season saying he's rubbish, can't hit a barn door, and we should just get rid of him and grab some cash while we can. Just proves I know absolutely nothing about football. I know there's plenty of you guys, absolutely thousands of you, that tune in every week to hear my opinions on football, but there is some proof right there that, like every other person on the planet, I don't really have a clue. No one really understands this game, and that is how we like it. I don't think anyone saw that goal coming. I think this really felt like the one where it had slipped. I think for me, there was a moment on about 80 minutes where I think it was Sturridge attempted this over-the-top ball to either Origi or Mane, and it just went absolutely nowhere near the target. It went straight to a Newcastle player. It was totally hopeless. It was utterly desperate. And I looked at that and just thought, I've seen this so many times where I've believed we can get the winner and it just doesn't happen for us. And it felt like it was going to be another one of those days. It had been about half an hour, maybe even more than that, since we'd created an actual proper shot on goal. And then suddenly, from out the blue, Liverpool deliver the goods. And it's not even our usual talisman who deliver the goods. Mo Salah wasn't there. Firmino wasn't there. You know, Sadio Mane wasn't even involved in the actual goal. It was Shaqiri to Origi, 2 players who've been on the fringes so much this season. Shaqiri barely kicked a ball, and then Virgil van Dijk shouts across and says he's taking it, not Trent. That's fantastic for Virgil van Dijk, by the way. Sees how we can exploit Newcastle, sees what we've done already this game and says, no, we need an in-swinger here. We need the left footer on it. He tells Trent Alexander-Arnold to step down and let Shaqiri have it, and it's a brilliant ball in. You know, it exploits every Newcastle weakness perfectly. We could see already from that game that they couldn't deal with crosses into the box. They couldn't deal with set pieces very well, and we know that, you know, out the blue, that has suddenly become a brilliant advantage for Liverpool this season, and that is such an important advantage to have. You know, so many teams who win the league do so by being really good at set pieces. Manchester City, a team that are famed for being, you know, all about finding the perfect goal, tiki-taka football, playing it across the ground. I'm pretty sure last season they scored the most set piece goals out of anyone. It's a wonderful weapon to have in your arsenal because in games like today, where it's just not going for you, when you're playing really poorly, when your best players aren't on the pitch, if you've still got just one set piece routine that you can execute and execute well, you can get goals from absolutely nowhere. That's what Liverpool needed today. That's what Liverpool got today. And it has just about kept us alive. Like I said, it's still in City's hands, but you just never know. There's still 2 games to go. And if we can struggle like that against Newcastle, then I'm sure Leicester can really give Manchester City a game on Monday night. And, you know, it is not over until the final whistle on the final day. Divock Origi and a little bit of Jamal Lascelles has made absolutely sure of that today. I thought, all things considered, it was a pretty poor Liverpool performance. I think at times we looked good. There were moments, certainly at the start of the second half, where we did dominate. We did create a lot of chances. We looked like we were going to run away with it. But far too many times we just let Newcastle back into it. Our defence never looked assured. They were being put under too much pressure because the midfield was just allowing Newcastle through. And it stopped us ever really gaining a proper consistent foothold in the game, because whenever we looked like we were starting to dominate, Newcastle found it far too easy to drag their way back in the game. All they needed was to create a half-decent attack suddenly they get a shot on goal, and then the momentum would shift completely once again. And I'm not going to blame any particular players. Obviously, Lovren comes back in and everyone wants to kind of pin the blame on him because he's the typical kind of player. It's happened to him before, and of course he's the only real change that was made, so people kind of look to him instantly as the one to blame for this. I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it's just a matter of most of the team having an off night. The midfield balance never really seemed quite there. Gini van Aldum didn't really have a good game at all. You know, it was another sort of Gini van Aldum away performance where he drifts out of the game far too often. Jordan Henderson, you know, at times was just too hurried on the ball. Fabinho looked a little bit flustered at times. Going forward, we never really clicked consistently. We did create some good chances, although some of that also came, I think, from the fact that Newcastle were a little bit shaky defensively, certainly in the first half hour of the game. Both of our goals come from some pretty poor defending from Newcastle, but Liverpool still got the win, and that's happened so many times this season. And this is what I mean about fate, about destiny. This idea that, you know, you never see teams win this many games while playing badly and not go on to have something to show for it, whether it's the Premier League or maybe an FA Cup or Champions League, to say this is what we have to prove that just for 1 year, everything seemed to go our way. And it's just such a shame that we're up against this brilliant Man City side. But again, tonight showed that this Liverpool's team, if they don't win the league, if they don't win the Champions League, they can still hold their heads high because they have given it absolutely everything. You know, heads looked like they were dropping tonight. It looked like we had completely fallen off. Like I said, that moment in the 80th minute where it just looked like the game had completely gone, the players still kept going. And without your key players like Salah and Firmino, it can be so difficult to keep on pushing through, because I was thinking, as we approach those final 10 minutes, we've done this before, we've come back, you know, the Spurs game, the Southampton game, all those kind of games, we've managed to claw it out, but often there are players like Salah or Firmino involved in that. Salah scored the catalyst of a goal against Southampton. He sets up the own goal against Spurs as well. Without him on the pitch, I really felt like we were just missing that final touch of magic we needed, but something just happened. Something happened. Something came out of the blue. Liverpool managed to grind it out once again. And yeah, again, a huge dose of fortune off of Jamal Lascelles' head. But sometimes, and it's a bit of a cliche, but I think you just do make your own luck. So a poor performance from Liverpool, and, you know, some real alarm bells for the game against Barcelona, because obviously we didn't play too well. We're probably going to be missing Salah and potentially Firmino now for that game, and of course the players had to go for the full 98 minutes today, which means they are probably going to be absolutely knackered. And with such a quick turnover, only 3 days until that game against Barcelona, it's starting to look like we're going to need a minor miracle. But if there's one team that can provide minor and major miracles this season, it is this Liverpool side. So listen, against all odds, please just keep the faith, because there's still 1 game to go for us, 2 games to go for Manchester City. We are not out of the Champions League just yet, and the way things are going, who's to deny us one more miracle to get us over the line in at least one of these competitions and win what would be an absolutely historic trophy to really cap off an incredible season to be a Liverpool fan. And if nothing comes of it, we've all had some brilliant fun and a few close calls with heart attacks along the way, but that just comes with the territory. So yeah, that is all for today's video. I mean, the general consensus is Liverpool not very good, Newcastle fine, but at the end of the day, sometimes it just goes your way, and maybe, just maybe, this is still Liverpool's year. So yeah, that is all today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, as always, you know what to do. Hit that like button down there, hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LSU Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back soon with the pre-match content for the game against Barcelona. Until then, bye for now.